And you can see what harm by looking across the river and over here where you once had a bunch of tag alder and small trees that added shade to the river. That again keeps the water from cooling, and now there's no brush, almost no trees along this edge because of the activity of the beaver.
Now, I couldn't shoot this rabbit when I wanted to because it ran between me and Tim Farragon. The camera follows the rabbit so you can't see what happened, but I started to swing my gun, and when the rabbit cut to the left and I saw Tim was going to be in my line of fire, I continued swinging, but I pointed my gun barrel down towards my feet as the rabbit crossed in front of Tim, and I lifted the barrel as the rabbit headed the other way. And as that bouncing cottontail was disappearing, I fired, thinking there was a good chance that I'd get the rabbit just inside the brush.
Yeah, something's there, unless he got into
the weeds.
There's a small fish there.
Small fish?
Feels like a northern.
Well, that didn't take long. Yeah, there he is. Some Bluegill, how about that?
Flag up over here. He's running.
Flag?
Yep. There's a pike or?
Yep, little pike.
Yeah, this was just another little pike. I mean, it's a good-sized fish, but for northern pike, it's not even legal. The UP chapter of Whitetails Unlimited was feeding deer as well as trapping and tagging them to study their winter feeding patterns. To tag their ears, they had to pull the deer out of the live traps by their back legs.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, Terry, this one goes on this here?
Tagging deer isn't something that you can do as a private individual. The UP Whitetails group did this with the help of DNR biologists. The dangerous part is letting the deer go.
Let me get out of the way.
Okay, I'm gonna roll over. Okay.
This has got to be the weirdest skin for a shanty that I've seen. It appears that this is just a rubber material that is stretched over a frame. The only place there's wood is on this side where the guy has his door, but it's stretched right up over the top. Doesn't appear to be able to allow any air to get in here at all. And you know what you would call this, Maddie? This ice shanty with the rubber exterior? It's a condominium.
Most people, if they saw this deer, would say it's an albino, but it's not. An animal that is an albino is white because it has no pigment in its skin at all. White hair, white skin, white nose, pink eyes. Now, this one has black on its tail, black on its ears. Its nose is black, and instead of pink eyes, it has the normal dark eyes of a deer.
Inside our shanty here, this pole in the center is temporarily screwed in the sides just to keep it so we could put the plastic on the top. But ultimately what we want to do is to be able to collapse this whole thing down and put it in the back of a truck. So we cut out these V's, and what will happen is once this temporary screw is removed, that'll simply slide right down into place. I think maybe we'll put him back.
How do you like the shanty?
It's not bad. I kind of feel like I live in a greenhouse.
Well, nice and warm though, eh?
It stays really, really warm in here. It's great. Put him back. Now, the fishing wasn't exactly fantastic, Matt, but I like the clear sides on the shanty.
One benefit of that is you could keep your eye on your tip up and also see what the other fishermen are doing as well.
That's right. Another benefit maybe for people, a family, for example, that doesn't fish a whole lot, doesn't want to sink a couple $100s into an ice fishing shanty. For $35, you can have yourself a fantastic shanty, and I think we have to give it 2 thumbs up.
On an average day, 3 ducks are fine, but on a cold day, Kevin says you need to put on more ducks. Like, maybe 5 ducks if it's pretty cold.
Who needs a duck call? Just bring corn.
6 ducks is almost too much for one man to wear. Oh, be sure to change your ducks, though. Don't wear the same ducks all the time. They tend to get dirty.
Well, and this is the last straw. This is it. How many of you go to a PTA function or a sportsman's club or to somebody's house for dinner and they say, I'll bring the cake, how about bringing a crock pot full of chili? Where do you put a crock pot full of chili? In a vehicle?
I'll show you where it ended up. This did not please me at all. The first turn around the corner, going onto the expressway ramp, there it is.
Oh my God.
That's the best venison chili I've ever made. I put cumin in it. I put a lot of brown sugar. I tasted it this morning. I said, this is so good, I got to share it with John and Joanne and Maddie. And look at that, share it with Maddie. Yeah, it's on the Maddie, all right. It's on the floor, Maddie. This is the breeding season. They display, they gobble. When they're excited, their heads and necks turn bright red and bright blue. Those are the colors of a big breeding tom. It's really cool to see the steam backlit in the sunlight shoot out when that big boy gobbles. Watch this. Dr. Heitman doesn't pretend to be a turkey calling champ, especially when he's trying to roll video at the same time, but turkeys are easily fooled by turkey calls, especially early in the breeding season.
This here looks like prime roosting area. Has everything they need. You have a nice little opening here, gives them room to fly up to that roost. You've got nice tall trees. You have oak, maple. And when they fly down from the roost, this area here is going to provide them with acorns. This is really a good place to start looking for a roost. Now from this point, I'd start looking for droppings or feathers. But this is a good place to look.
Greg Abbas was whispering to both hunters. The 13-year-old in front of him who had never been hunting before. This was his first hunting experience. The uncle was listening on the right. Greg told them to shoot on the count of 3, and he whispered, 1, 2. Don't you just love it when a plan comes together? This plan worked to a T.
And I'll just lift. Whoop. Nice and slow. You don't jerk. Keep reeling. Just lift. Just lift right on up. As high as you can lift. Oh.
Mission accomplished. This is the fish that most anglers look for, a hard-fighting Chinook salmon.
What do you think?
Awesome.
How do you feel?
Great. My arm's tired.
What have we here?
We have a 1-month-old 3 to 4 inch sturgeon in a little 5-gallon aquarium at the Wolf Lake Hatchery northwest of Kalamazoo. In preparation for my first sturgeon excursion, I wanted to start with some smaller ones and learn a little bit about them.
Well, this is, they hatch these out at the hatchery
That's
because
right.
they don't get good enough reproduction in
That's
the
right.
streams up
These
there.
are actually from Wisconsin eggs. Michigan and Wisconsin have been trading off every other year for a few years and taking eggs and then sharing them with the other state.
Otherwise, they would not be in these streams.
That's right.
And people wouldn't see them in the lakes.
That's right.
Because they would be down how deep?
The bottom.
The bottom.
Mullet Lake, that might be 150 feet deep. I've heard stories, rumors over the years of a huge sturgeon in Higgins Lake at 200-foot depths. Black Lake is typically 20 to 30 feet deep, and but Mullet Lake does have some 150-foot water.
No state in the nation, and this is my assessment, and I think my peers would agree, has 4 million acres of state forests under their control that they can manage in a way where they can benefit the economy, sustain an urban environment and an urban economy at that, and assure natural resource opportunities in the way that Michigan has. No place on earth has the water resources of Michigan, not just its inland waters, which are awesome, but the opportunity to influence those magnificent liquid borders of this state.
Why don't you pick up this big one? This is the biggest morel that I've ever seen. It's kind of stooped over, I guess.
Yeah.
Looks like an animal head. I don't know, a cobra,
Yeah.
alligator?
Cobras, I would say close.
Now, this measures from nose to feet.
17 inches.
17 inches, and any idea on the girth? Or
Not really. We did.
Boy, this is a bright one. Look how bright that is. There's your classic bluegill again. Nice size one, the black gill plate, blue under there. They're very pretty.
And tasty.
Yeah. It's almost a shame to fillet them. Almost. But that's just the way nature is. I mean, all kinds of fish are beautiful. Oops.
I hooked the fish and he jumped in.
He meaning him? That's your brother?
No, he's my cousin.
He's your cousin, okay.
My cousin Greg jumped in and he was wearing shorts and he was afraid it was going to bite him. So then I dove in
Well,
there.
I can't imagine that. Can't imagine that at all.
So then I dove in hoping I could get it, and then I got it, and some man come and cut the line, and then we were taken across the street, dropped it in the middle of the road, we stopped traffic, everybody's honking their horns. It was great.
Yeah.
Well, I like to palm the reel. I get a better feel for it.
So
That also puts my hand up on the rod itself so I can feel better. But yeah,
You hold it like that.
that just gives me better grip on the rod and reel. But I mean, you can hold it here. You're not going to do good holding it like that, especially worm fishing.
I just have one right there.
Yeah, you want to at least have one finger on this. That's
But the cool way is to.
the cool way is like that.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I want to do it the cool way, the way the bass guys do. I've never fished a bass tournament.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Just like that.
But you see what I had to do?
Yeah.
You see, I grabbed the butt of the rod like that.
Yep.
You do that?
No, I don't have to. I'm left-handed.
Ah. Okay.
But that was
I'm skipping him.
that was a good hook set. You put some power into it.
Well, look at how he took it.
Yeah.
He took it down in there pretty well. Oh, mangled the worm.
At the Anderson Archery Clinic on June 13th, we stopped in the tent of Richard English from West Milton, Ohio. He has a traveling deer show of tame whitetail bucks.
Now, you're going to have to explain to the people who are seeing you around a whitetail buck.
Yeah.
And this thing is as docile as you can imagine.
Yeah, well, I started at 3 days old. I ride them on the ride mower, so they're not afraid of ride mowers. I raise them with a puppy, so they're not afraid of dogs. I take them in the truck every time I leave the house. They see the traffic, other people, noises. Train them to all the things I think might scare them here. If a person walks in here with a dog, they're not afraid of them. I have to be ready for them things to happen. In a sports show, you got bird dogs.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I have to train them where they're not afraid of nothing. You know.
One of Jennifer's adventures was setting pots for crabs.
Oh my God, look at him.
She fished for 3 kinds of crabs. The first was mainly tanners. That's what they call them in Alaska. A tanner is what we call a snow crab. These are great eating, but the real prize is the huge Alaskan king crab. Jennifer caught a few, but they all had to go back because Alaskan law says that only Alaskan residents can keep the big king crabs. A float tube is lightweight, 10 pounds maybe, some heavy-duty canvas, some aluminum tubing, and industrial plastic. You have a one-man boat that comes apart and can fit in any car. Now, this is not an inner tube, it's a boat.
Is this a walleye? Look at this. This is a walleye. Ooh. Oh boy. Oh boy. What do you see here? I see 2 fillets.
Crank him up, crank him up, crank him up, bring him up. Bring him up, Fred. Bring him up. Bring him up, Fred. Back him up, back him up. You got him, he's in.
Nice fish, Fred. Ooh. 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 Do I want him? Yeah, I think so. I think we'll keep him.
Yeah, this fish ended up very soon on my grill. Took me 3 nights to finish it off, delectable with a wood fire taste.
You want me to move?
No, I just have to work around you.
With all these problems, what are the chances we're going to land this fish? Probably slim or none.
Oh, Kirk, it's wrapped all over him.
Okay.
Got him, Kirk.
Got him?
Okay, Kirk.
All right.
Okay, I got him. I'm gonna just
Okay.
bring him at him. Let Kirk get everything in order. Here it comes.
Coming over?
Oh, look at that
Oh, Matt. Yes. What is it?
27, 28 pounds.
28. Man, look at that.
I know it doesn't seem right to toss a big fish back, but muskie aren't like bluegill or walleye. There aren't all that many big muskie out there. Now, don't get me wrong, muskies are not endangered. It's just that the die-hard muskie anglers would rather catch muskies more often and release them than catch less muskies to keep.
How about that?
Awesome. Okay.
This fish probably weighs.
Head first, right in the water.
Okay, well, this fish weighs about 26 pounds. It has a pound of slime.
That's about it. The best thing for him is it'll go back in and get bigger yet. Look at the size of that
Okay. You know these things taste like chicken? They really do. They taste like, I've had one before. They're great.
Oh! Okay, there he goes. Oh, he's gonna go back fine.
Look at that. There's not another fisherman on the water. There's not a boat anywhere. Now, do you think that might tell you something? If the locals aren't even out fishing here, the fronts that have moved through make it pretty rough, but at least we're doing it. We have the day off to come here and try it, and that's what it's all about. We might catch a salmon, Maddie. That would be a real kick.
Well, it would be a real kick, but even the bigger boats had been driven off the lake by the northerly wind and the rain of the past few days. We had a lot of fun anyway, and our day for fish will come.
So what we're going to do is we're just simply going to break the stick.
That activates it.
It's going to activate the stick. We're just simply going to take it and shove it down in the hole. And what that does is it simply gives us a reference for the board when we're out fishing. We can see this thing whether it's 25 feet out or 60, 70, or 100 feet at times. It just depends.
Oh, yeah, another keeper, boys. You gotta believe it.
Yep, I believe it is. Oh, yeah. That is if you don't lose it. Lean back a little bit. Yeah, good man.
Right at me, Mike.
Well done.
Woo, there we go, huh?
Well, John Ford scans the field edges with binoculars. It wasn't 10 minutes after he and Matt got in place that a decent buck emerged from the opposite woods and started walking across the open field. It appears to be a big 6-point. Now, Matt's using a home video camera instead of our professional Betacam. That's a little easier and safer to use from a tree. The quality isn't as good, but it has a few technical shortcomings. It is a practical way to document a hunt, though.
Well, this blind is actually very easy to build, especially if you have someone like Matt Radzilowski to build it for you, or help build it anyway. Matt, how did you do the camouflage on the blind?
Well, to start off with, we painted the whole blind this gray color to help seal up the wood.
You know, when we first saw this inside here, we thought, this is crazy. This is just too much room. But Matt, you know what? It's kind of nice to be able to stretch in
out,
here.
sure.
And you could put shelves up here.
Maybe even a coat hook in the corner, keep your jacket out of the way.
Yeah, that would be great. Now the window.
You've heard why Tim and I enjoy squirrel hunting, and you've seen what it involves. A minimum of equipment, walking slowly through the woods on a comfortable autumn day. Squirrel hunting is one of my favorite types of hunting.
Now, what about deer urine that's sold in stores right now, though, that says it's from the, estrus cycle of the deer?
I'm sorry, that's kind of funny. There is no such thing as saving estrus urine. The difference between normal doe urine and estrus doe urine is pheromones. And pheromones have been documented to have a maximum lifespan of 10 minutes.
Papa, ready to give?
Showing this way.
Oh, good girl. Sit. Sit.
Greta was pretty excited about her first wild rooster. Young Pat was happy he got it, but none of us had any idea another rooster was sitting about 30 feet away.
That's the old prestige way, right?
That is. That looks good.
Bird. Not my bird, but I'll carry it for you. Pat, thank you.
Good work, Pat.
Congratulations.
Oh, oh, another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Now
That is excellent.
That is the darndest thing. We've been walking over what, 80 acres, 100 acres?
Who got that?
Let's see what he does. Let's see what he does. Let's try to confirm it. I can't say spikes for sure. Both John and I thought we could detect small spikes, 2, maybe 3 inches long, right between the buck's ears, but we weren't absolutely sure. It acted more like a buck, though, than a doe. I swear that's a spike. If it is, they're small. Yeah, they're small, but... Off it went. My opportunity was gone.
We were trying to see this morning, John, whether they had that one buck maybe had tines that long. Would have made it legal. Look at the size of these. Around the back side. Not many people over here. Keep that light cranking up here. That's the smallest one, which looks like a 6-point. That kind of, but that still is a nice buck. You're absolutely right.
Now we have a Lenawee County buck. Now this is the one that you saw on the video with Brad Bruce at the end of the other segment. Look at all of these little nubbins here. If you count these, if you're inclined to count these as points because they're an inch long, we have how many points?
21.
21, and you obviously count them all.
I count them all.
And this is Mark Dale from Milan.
Yep.
And this, what's the spread on this baby?
22 inches.
And what did it take for you to get this mounted in a week or two?
The best taxidermist in the county.
Okay. Way to go, Mark. That's an outstanding buck from Lenawee County.